Hello, welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue a story of my life. Chapter 5 The Tree of Paradise. I can recollect numerous incidents from the summer of 1887 that preceded the sudden liberation of my soul. When daisies and buttercups bloomed, Miss Sullivan led me by the hand across the fields to the banks of the Tennessee River. There, seated on the warm grass, I learned how the rain and the sun are responsible for the growth of trees and food, how birds build their nests, and how animals found food and shelter. As my knowledge expanded, so did my happiness in being part of this world. Much before I mastered arithmetic or geography, Miss Sullivan taught me to bask in the beauty of every single blade of grass in the fragrant woods. I also learned to find joy in the curves and dimples of my baby sister's hand. Miss Sullivan merged my earliest thoughts with nature, and I became best friends with the birds and flowers. But I also learned that nature can be cruel sometimes. My teacher and I were returning from a long walk one day. We had rested a couple times, and our last halt was under a wild cherry tree a short distance from home. It was an easy climb, and we found a seat in the branches. Miss Sullivan proposed that we have our lunch there. I promised to sit still while she went home to fetch it. Suddenly I felt a change come over the tree as the warmth of the sun vanished. I realized the sky was black now as the heat had faded away from the atmosphere. And because this very heat was light to me, the earth radiated a strange odor that preceded a thunderstorm. My heart was thumping with strange fear. This was the fear of the unknown that I was struck numb. I wished desperately that my teacher would return, but I wished most to get off that tree. The silence was sinister, and the continuous swaying of the leaves added to the terror. The wind howled with such a fury that I was almost switched off the tree. I managed to cling on for dear life to the branch as the tree swayed threateningly. The small twigs snapped and fell about me in small showers. I was seized with a wild impulse to jump, but my fear restrained me. The branches lashed out at me, and just when I thought the tree would crash to the earth, my teacher caught my hands and helped me down. I clung to her bosom. I learned a new lesson that nature does not shy away from raging open war against her children, and that under the softest touch, treacherous claws lie concealed. I did not dare climb a tree a long time. The sweet enticement of the mimosa tree in full bloom had finally aided me to overcome that fear. On a beautiful spring morning, I was alone in the summer house when a subtle fragrance in the air arrested my senses. It was as if the spirit had invaded the summer house. I recognized the odor of the mimosa blossom. I reached the mimosa tree and touched it. It was quivering in the warm sunshine, and the blossom-laden branches were almost kissing the long grass. I pulled myself up by the tree by placing my foot in the wide spaces by the forked branches. I experienced some difficulty hanging on as the branches were huge and the bark hurt my little hands. But the realization of doing something wonderful egged me on, and I climbed higher to reach a small seat someone had built so long ago that it was almost like part of a tree now. I sat there for a long time, just like a fairy on a rosy cloud. After that day, I spent many happy hours in my tree of paradise, dreaming bright dreams and thinking beautiful thoughts. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.